Hello, warriors. Welcome to the U Movement. I am B. And today's flashback to these are the emotions we don't enjoy was back into fear for me today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about fear, anxiety, and intrusive thoughts on an awakening, because I visited in this energy many times. This last year really has been the year of fear. And I wanted to talk through what I did today and what I have done over the past year to help see me through. Because what happens on a Kundalini awakening is your nervous system is going through dramatic shifts and changes, and it can feel almost like energy is just flowing through you and purge out whatever fear lingers inside of you. So I've described on many videos how it's like we have stored memory as in zip files that when it's time for them to be released and purged out of your system, that zip file releases and opens. And what I experience is physical pain to begin with, and that usually is in the musculature. And so I'm led to do some trigger point release, and I've been working the area very tightly in the lowest 3 vertebrae for the last couple of days, and doing some somatic release as I've been lying on that. And then the emotions begin to be flooded and pushed out. And when the fear for me comes with a lot of intrusive thoughts, because fear isn't necessarily based on what's happening in the here and now. It's usually a predictive type of this could go wrong or that could go wrong, doomsdaying, catastrophizing. And for me, that's been triggered because I've been in a legal battle for 2 solid years that's been looming over me and weighing very heavily, and has destroyed my finances and destroyed my sense of safety, because somebody else owns the deed to my house. A bank owns the deed to my house, so it's like this giant institution against me, a little David and Goliath tale. And so of course when the mind is not in a very grounded or stable energy, I can predict any number of worst case scenarios, and it becomes overwhelming. This could go wrong and that could go wrong. And 9 times out of the 10, the things that could go wrong won't go wrong and aren't even really based on too much reality. I'm just using my story as an example that we can't listen or trust the mind. The mind is a liar. And when you're going through a Kundalini and you're releasing trauma, because that trauma has, that fear in my case originates from a very young child mind. Your very survival is like, oh my God, how am I going to survive? And it's almost like I can invent a lot of things in my head, which means that I have been exceptionally cautious over the last year of what input I allow into my mind. I don't watch the news. I minimize what I see on the internet, because I just don't need things plugged into my mind. I just don't need disaster thinking. And there's so much fear right now in the world as it is. And when you're on a Kundalini awakening, you're also becoming hypersensitive to the collective consciousness and other people's energies and fears. And that doesn't mean just the people around you. It can mean just generally the vibe of what's happening out there. So there's already enough fear. And the last thing I want to do is add to the fear, and I don't want to buy into the fear. And what happens is our egoic mind begins to grab hold of that emotion that's being released. So as I said, the zip file unzips and your system gets flooded with memory, an emotive memory. And so that emotive memory doesn't necessarily mean, an emotional flashback is you re-feel the emotion. That doesn't mean you visualize the story of what happened when you were 2 or 4 or whatever age it was. You just re-feel the emotion. Something has triggered that emotional release. And so your mind quickly goes, well, why am I afraid? What's happening? What's going on? I need to scan everything of what could be contributing to this. Oh, it might be the legal situation. So you see, the emotional flashback had nothing to do with the legal situation, but the legal situation helped contribute to trigger that release. And so then the ego connects the two and starts to make a story. And so the mind starts to create a script and starts to create doomsdaying. And, I better, I don't know, buy a camper van and live in the middle of the woods with my pet goat, because how am I going to survive in the world? Oh my God. And so before you know it, you could be really far down a rabbit hole of terror, of paranoia, of even as far as psychosis. A lot of people have explained on UTalk about their backgrounds of psychosis. I myself went through spiritual crisis that had brought me very close to it. It was like I was watching it and I'm like, is this happening? Isn't this happening? Where a full-blown psychosis is you believe 100% that whatever is happening. And I was very close to it, and it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying, as my mind was trying to make sense of the experiences that I was having that didn't make any sense. And so I never want to experience that again. And it was in that spiritual crisis back in May. And I don't know how much I've really talked about this. I have done videos on spiritual crisis before. And my ex had just admitted to me that he had molested children, and that my entire marriage was a lie, and that he was in love with somebody else, and that he had cheated on me. And my brain broke. I was in excruciating pain that I couldn't understand what was happening to me. I still don't have a definitive answer on that. And the Kundalini was exacerbated because I had also just recently done some sacred medicines. So it was a clusterfuck extraordinaire that led me to the worst of my spiritual awakening, when I was in that really horrific state of absolute terror, like abjunct terror. And I didn't know what was happening. I thought that perhaps something very nefarious was at play, because I couldn't understand what the information that was coming in for me. I was having spiritual experiences that made no sense to me. And so fear was the emotion that took place. And at the same time, I was starting to experience what I thought were perhaps memories surfacing that I don't know if they are my memories of this life, past life, somebody else's memories, but they were horrific. I was living them. I was experiencing them in real time. And I mean, I was getting hit from every single angle. A lot of people talk about spiritual warfare. I was open to the possibility that too was at play. I mean, I was open to the possibility that anything could be happening at that stage, because nothing made sense anymore. And so when I have an inkling that I'm going back into fear again, I find it, I'm afraid of the fear. The fear, I'm terrified of that experience again. That experience was so profound. that I quit cannabis on the spot, and that was the last hold on to any type of substance. And so for the last 18 months, I've been doing this Kundalini awakening stone cold sober. And that's in itself has been a learning curve, like, because as you're going through Kundalini, everything is being pushed out. All these memories are coming up and purging. And obviously in my system, I carry with me a lot of fear. And facing your fears after all your life, repressing your fears, has been very difficult. And so when you quit everything, all substances, you need to replace your coping mechanisms with something, anything, because when you're feeling the fear or the panic or the anxiety, all things which are common on a spiritual awakening, having some sort of something to hold on to or tools to use is beyond necessary. So first tool that I'm going to talk about is trying to calm the mind into understanding what's happening, because when it's all going into a state of anxiety and fear and panic and paranoia, you want to pull yourself away from the edge and pull yourself out of your mind, because it feels like maybe you're going out of your mind. And your mind, as I said, is trying to create explanations and stories for what's happening, but that's not what's happening. And so having something remind you of what is happening and having a certain level of understanding, it has been huge for me. So the first thing that I often do is, in essence, remind myself that I am having an awakening. Remind myself that this is a normal experience of an awakening, and remind myself that this too shall pass. Now, sometimes when your mind is very busy with all those things, trying to do those three things is very difficult. So one tool that you can use is to have an affirmation written on your wall that says, I am safe, you are having an awakening. This is normal to experience fear, anxiety, or panic, and this too shall pass. Or my mind being as it is, which is a little bit like it loves to consume information. I go back and I'll watch videos on spiritual awakenings from other teachers, because it's comforting for me to watch Christina Lopes, for example, who I took her course on spiritual awakening, and I've watched most of her videos. I think that she presents things in a way that's palatable for my brain to be able to handle when my brain's in that state, which is very much, this is a spiritual awakening. These are the symptoms of a spiritual awakening. This is what you can do for a spiritual awakening. I apologize, my light just went out. And so having that information is incredibly useful to feed the mind when the mind is going doolala. It's off the racetrack and it's gone on its own adventure. The second thing that I did tonight, which I have utilized through the last year, because as I said, when I discovered the truth about my marriage, I went in, my first response was to go into denial. And I was a couple of months in denial, in absolute cognitive dissonance, not believing. I just couldn't comprehend what was happening on top of the Kundalini and on top of everything else. And so I was being hoovered like there was no tomorrow. So for about 4 months, I was in just la la land. And then I went no contact. And from that point, so just over a year, I was in recovery, and recovering from narcissistic abuse is complicated because your brain chemistry has been hijacked, And it's like the worst addiction you could possibly imagine. So I had already withdrawn off of all the substances, but those substances were outside of me. This substance was inside of me. My own brain's chemistry was a substance that was, going between a state of desperately wanting another dopamine hit and the cortisol needing to regulate itself. So going in between flashes of dopamine, cortisol is like an internal brain chemistry addiction that takes a very, very, very long time to regulate. And that mixed in with the Kundalini that's already frying your nervous system as it travels up and down the nervous system to purge out all the things and the emotions and the beliefs and everything else that don't belong, meant that for the last year, just over, it's been a harrowing ride. It's been a very difficult, arduous journey, and one fraught with fear because I haven't felt safe or secure or so one of the things to regulate the nervous system that I've been doing routinely is the cold showers. And I do hope to one day invest in one of those cold plunges. But I will just put my shower on, like seriously, I just turn it on enough that water's coming out of it. So absolutely no hot is coming out of it. It's not a pleasant experience. But when you get to about 70 seconds or 90 seconds of dancing in the spot, something happens that's really quite remarkable. And the whole nervous system goes, and so I'll stay in that for just a little bit longer and just allow it's like you get limp almost as you go into it. And so that's the second thing that really helps with regulating fear responses. After I left the shower, now I didn't turn the shower up hot because I then decided that the next best thing that I was going to need to do to regulate my nervous system was to do some body work. And when I say body work, you can do stretches, dances, movement, massage I am blessed to have a hot tub in my back garden. So I went into the hot tub and just hoped that there was some stars, because then I'm doing two things at once, which is one, connecting to nature, and I talk to my trees out back, and getting a massage on that low back region, where, as I said, that was the origination of those files that opened, that the memory, the fear is very much in the root chakra for me. And so I spent about half an hour out there in that. And then, that's warming me up, that's soothing, that's giving the muscles a little bit massage. Then step 3 for me tonight was a lot of chamomile tea. So I put like 4 bags of chamomile in my big mug that I have, and was trying to soothe from the inside with hot liquids and relaxation that way. And that really made a huge difference for sure. Step 4 was to get into bed with my grounding sheets, some weight on me. I have an anxiety, it's not a blanket, it's a stuffy, but I put a heavy blanket, weight, as much weight as I could put on my body. Because if you don't have somebody to hug you, hugs are great. If you have anxiety, just having somebody hold you very, very tightly. If you don't have somebody holding yourself very tightly, or putting yourself under extreme weight, brings you back into your body, brings you back into that groundedness. So I highly recommend anything that's going to help promote being grounded and feeling that weight. I used to have a blanket, a weighted blanket, but when I lost all the weight, it's now way too heavy for me. So I actually have to get a new one. Because you want to get a weighted blanket that's in and around 8 to 10% of your body weight. So that it would be like, I wouldn't be able to move now. I'd be trapped once I got in it. But so I'll have to get myself one of those. But as I said, there's been times on my awakening where I've just covered my body with stones. I have a lot of crystals. Some of them are very heavy, and just or I have a heavy wool blanket, and getting as much heaviness on you as possible when you're feeling those fears. Also, using something that's going to distract your mind. So I love the use of affirmations, and I listen routinely. There's a woman who does 8-hour affirmations. She has some I'm safe affirmations, or, you know, I am loved. I like her affirmations because they are you are based. She actually has both, but you are affirmations I find to be a lot more soothing when you're in a state of an emotional flashback of fear, because you're communicating to the inner child as opposed to communicating to the mind and saying I am. So on this topic of these affirmations, I myself have provided for you guys a while back an affirmation playlist with my affirmations, with you are based affirmations, to help you reparent through difficult emotional releases. That being said, I was speaking to a friend this evening, and she had a very brilliant idea. So I'm letting you guys be the first to hear of this idea. And if anybody's interested, please feel free to reach out to me. I would like to offer personal recorded you are affirmations to help you process through your awakenings or emotional releases or fear or anxiety or grief or whatever it is. This will be a private personal recording just for you. I'm thinking 25 Canadian dollars or American dollars, sorry, is probably easier. Most of my followers are in the American market. And I can do this private recording for you using your name, using any nicknames, using the words that you yourself want to hear. Because my friend was explaining to me that although she'd heard my recommendation many times to record her own affirmations, she said, I simply don't believe it. I don't believe it because nobody else is saying it to me, and I need somebody else to say it to me. And I said, well, I'll say it to you. And she was kind of blown away. And so we were kind of plotting out how I would do this for her. So this is literally a couple of hours old idea. So if anybody wants a private recording for helping you process through one of your more challenging emotions that keeps coming up repetitively for your awakening, with certain phrases, you know, it's something that we can work together on to come up with how you want. It is something that I would happily accommodate you with. So let me know in your comments if you think that's a good idea. I think it can be a really useful tool because I know how powerful it has been in helping me shift out of that insane fear into, okay, everything's okay now. I'm doing much better. I've gotten through this, you know? And so where before it could have taken me 4 days to process through an emotional release that was particularly challenging, now it's taken me a couple of hours because I know all the things that actually work to help me process through it much faster. So to anyone out there that's experiencing extreme fear purges on your awakening, it is a good thing. It's happening for you. Yeah, nobody likes to hear that, but it's happening for you. These releases are helping to clear out the denser energies that are holding you back from your own awakening and your own ascension. You have my absolute love and support, and let me know if there's anything else I can do for you. If you would like to book a one-on-one to discuss some of the stuff that you're dealing with, whether that have anything to do with your body and diet or substances, addictions, narcissistic abuse and escape and recovery from, and identifying, hey, you know, I don't know if this person is narcissistic. This is the type of stuff he says to me. Give that to me for a read, and I'll let you know exactly. I can break down exactly sentence by sentence what's going on. So feel free to book a one-on-one with me if you're having any of those issues or any other issues and to do with your spiritual awakening or twin flame journey or anything like that. The way to book with me is to send off an email to justbeing@gmail.com, or you can get in touch with me via my other social medias or Telegram or Messenger or whatever. They're all listed here somewhere on the YouTube main site. And thank you for all the likes, shares, subscriptions, and the donations. Oh my God, thank you, and thank you for those. You seriously, you're saving my life here. And just thank you for being here. You've helped me as much as I give back to you guys. You guys are giving back to me with all the comments of support that I've received along this awakening path. I wouldn't have been able to do this without you. So I am so incredibly grateful for all of you out there. With that said, peace out.